Welcome back to my channel, guys, and it's time for another manga review. Welcome back, and if you're new, then welcome for the first time. This is going to be on the series Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. I think they only have 3 volumes right now out. There is a link down there below where you guys can buy some cheap manga. And I bought this one from there, in fact. So make sure you go check them out. Great website. So it's the right stuff. So make sure you use my link each time you buy from them. That way you support not just the company, but also me. Anyways, this is the second volume of this series. I do have a first volume review on it, so you can go check that in my channel. Yeah. Anyways, guys, before I continue with my review, a few things. If you have not done so by now, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I am trying to reach 3,000, and we're about 60 away, which is basically not that much. So if you haven't subscribed, and if you want to subscribe, or if you just want to help a brother out, subscribe and get me to 3,000. Thank you so much for those who have been supporting and helping me to get there. So if you guys want to further support me, you guys can always comment, like, and share this video so you can get more attention. Anyways, lastly, I will talk about this series in some detail. Not a lot of details, but I will talk about it in some detail. Story itself of Arifureta is a host classroom, essentially. Teacher and kids are transported to a new place. In this place, they all are heroes and all have different abilities, and all but one, Hajime. And Hajime essentially is betrayed by some of his friends because they don't like him for different reasons, and he's thrown into an abyss. And in this abyss, he is able to gain these powers by eating the meat of different monsters and using recovering magic of some water that he found. That's basically where we start in volume 2. He has eaten a lot of monsters. He has a lot of abilities and has changed his hair to white. The other things that's going on is he essentially has opened this door where he finds this little girl hooked up into this big thing, and he's wondering why is she there. So he obviously thinks things through first and says there it could be 2 things. One, she's there for a reason. Someone put her there because she might be dangerous, or because she's probably not someone that I should be helping. And 2, it could just be a trap, and she's just pretending to be hurt so I can get closer, and then she attacks me. So his first initial, what should I do is, let me just get out of here. She can help herself. She obviously says, no, please help me. And she gives him the story of her life, and he eventually does free her. But essentially, this girl who Hajime eventually names her Yue explains how she's a vampire. And years ago, centuries ago, in fact, she at age 12 gained these powers, which is why she's looks like that. She looks like a 12-year-old, and she started essentially. She became one of the strongest vampires in her nation, in her village, and she became basically the top head Mancho Pancho, whatever you want to call him, and she was the leader of them. And eventually, one of her family members betrayed her, and they basically used her power as much as possible, and then they try to kill her. And she does explain, I have recovering magic, and it's very powerful. They weren't able to kill me. He said they cut my head, they did different stuff, and they weren't able to kill me, so they placed me here with restraining magic where I couldn't escape, and they just left me here. So she's been stuck there for not just a few days, not for a few years, but centuries, guys, because Hajime, he in his own thoughts said, I've heard about vampires, but they died out like centuries ago. How in the world is she still here? And that's because it's been centuries since she's been left there. So he, in his still very soft heart, we find out that eventually in the series, accepts Yue and decides that Yue can join him in his journey. And it's a very lovey-dovey relationship. You know that Yue likes Hajime, and Hajime, I guess shows his affection in a different way. Eventually, they do kiss in this volume, so you know that they have a relationship between each other. So they're not very, a lot of isekai. So the main character can have multiple girls going after him. They never go to the extent of kissing, but in this one, it's very clear Hajime and Yue do like each other, and Hajime and Yue have kissed. So they're very much attached to each other. And that's because he relates to her very much so through her past, and he was betrayed as well, and he was left basically to die, or they wanted him to die. So he relates to her. Now, in all this, they confront different monsters. He finds out how strong she is, and she finds out how strong he is. And that essentially is the middle part of the volume. In the last part, they come against this enormous monster called a Hydra. And essentially, this Hydra is guarding what they believe is the end of the dungeon or wherever they're at. And they believe this is like the last boss. And it basically is. So it takes a lot of them. In fact, at one point we think Hajime is down for the count, and at one point we think Yue is down for the count, and eventually they do both get up and they defeat this Hydra. By defeating the Hydra, different things, they get different stones and different magic that they found that he was protecting. Basically the most interesting one is the creation magic, and out of the creation magic, Hajime is able to make a prosthetic arm from him. Up to this point, you guys can see there in the cover, he only has one arm. Remember, he lost his arm through a beast in the first volume. The second volume ends with him essentially having or making a prosthetic arm. Prosthetic, whatever, for himself. The entire volume seems like a flashback, and it kind of concludes like a flashback. It kind of feels like Yue and Hajime are just remembering how they met and how they're at point B, which is what we reach in the last volume. And essentially, they're out of that dungeon. They're living somewhere, and they're talking about how, because she's a vampire and because he has the abilities that he has, people would want to, use their, or take advantage of them, essentially, and use their power. So they're going to be basically running away from village to village as much as possible and just living for themselves and not for others. And the volume ends with the introduction of a new girl character. And if you've seen the anime, you know who she is. It is the bunny girl, but she is introduced in the last page of the volume. So I'm going to guess the third volume is going to be all about her. I do have the third volume, which in the front cover, she's there. Very etchiness. In fact, that's the whole ongoing joke in the series, is that she's very edgy towards Hajime, and Yue doesn't like her. So that's basically going to be a third volume. Anyways, this series is great. I really did enjoy the anime, which is why I'm reviewing now the manga. So make sure you guys go and watch it if you guys want to watch it through Funimation, or go buy it through Right Stuff. Check out my link down there below. It does help me, so make sure you buy stuff through my link each time you buy through them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys have not done so by now, make sure you subscribe, because I am trying to reach 3,000. If you guys have a series or recommendation of series that I should be reading, let me know. Manga Rock is closing, and because they are closing, I won't be able to review everything for you guys, but I will be able to review at least the ones that I can buy, and I don't mind buying the stuff because it doesn't support just those companies that the US has created, but also companies in Japan that are trying as hard as possible to get these books to us. So anyways, let me know in the comment section if I should be reviewing something, and like and share this video. Make sure others hear about this reviews, and I really do appreciate all that. Thank you guys again for your love and support, and like always, Don't be strangers. See you guys.